Coming February 1st to 1510 WMEX, the Shortsleeve and Max Show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on 1510 WMEX.
Hey, listen, I know we've got a guest on the line here, and we told you before we went to break, we were talking about the Arc of Massachusetts. Well, the gentleman behind the Arc of Massachusetts is Leo Sarkissian, and I've had the pleasure of working with him over the years. When I was at Channel 4, he had me up to the State House to take part in their awards ceremony. And as I joined the Liberty Square Group as their senior advisor over the past 18 months, I got back together with Leo, and I've been helping Leo bring attention to what he does, how he advocates and supports developmentally disabled children and adults across the state. Leo, are you there?
Yeah, I am, Joe. Great to talk to you and Diane. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, Leo. Now, Leo, I think that what we'd like to start off with a little bit is you had some very big news in November. The Arc of Massachusetts celebrated a big anniversary. Tell us about that.
Well, we kicked off our 60th year anniversary, if you can imagine, 6 decades, and that's a lifetime. And it really tracked our history from the early days where all the families got together from the post-war baby boom to figure out, hey, what are we going to do? Suddenly there was a high number of folks with intellectual disabilities being born. And then to our evolution to today where, hopefully one day we'll be out of business because we'll be unneeded because people with disabilities will be accepted and respected like everyone else, and there'll be the funding to help them live in the community. But we are really proud to see the progress that's been made. So, we had a great day. We need dollars. A lot of, how we run on over, I guess, 80% of our dollars come from donations and all kinds of donations. So it was a big, over $400,000 was raised. And then it's all about working on some of the goals we have, during the year.
Leo, can you just talk about the contrast? Talk about from the 1960s to where we are in 2015. How far have we come? I know in your mind, we have a long way to go, but how far have we come?
Oh, gee, and part of how far we've come relates to how families, part of what makes it hard is how families have changed. Because in the 60s, right, for some families, there were many situations where there was only one working parent. So, that was an advantage, but they did everything on their own. And in those days, they were told, put your kid in an institution when he was born most of the time, okay? Even as late as the 1980s, I'll hear from parents saying, yeah, my doctor said, your son or daughter will affect the family, put them in an institution. Of course, not only is that not good for the person or the family, but it also means government's going to pay for it for the whole lifetime, right, of the individual. So there was you were either, in some cases, people would basically forget about their child, too. The Rain Man movie, is a great example about that, where they didn't forget about Rain Man, but, he was out there somewhere. A brother didn't even know he existed. So that was those days, right? And then today, it's all about how can we get people included. There is, in Massachusetts, we're fortunate in that we do have a vibrant support system. It's, again, not where we like it to be, but you know what? I have to thank the citizens and the leadership that it's much better than some other states. And we have adult services. We have education. That's a right. Believe it or not, you had to beg before 1972, 74 to get public education if you had special needs. So we've come such a long way. And, of course, the biggest culmination was the Americans with Disabilities Act that goes beyond, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, cross-disability, that set a ground, sort of a floor that said, hey, look, we're all people. So, it's...
And Leo, this is Diane, and I'm so glad to talk with you. I have a personal history with the work you do. I have a twin sister who is developmentally delayed, as is her daughter. I'm great, thank you. And I call this God winking. And I live a faith-based life, and every day I wake up and say, God, bring somebody into my life today that I can help and that can help me. And it sounds like you're it, Leo. I ask you this, first of all, and I can attest to growing up in the 60s and 70s with my sister that she wasn't far enough down the line to be institutionalized, but she certainly had her challenge. And my parents had a challenge because they had no support. They had nobody to tell them what to do, where to go, no doctors that could recognize what the issue was. And so now that her daughter is in that situation, it's wonderful to be in Massachusetts. But I'm curious as to, is there an epidemic and why? We look at the autism numbers alone. What happened?
Great question. And yeah, we had, of course, it was the post-war baby boom I just mentioned that happened, 40s and 50s, right? And now we have an epidemic because of the rise in autism, the incidence of autism. And we were proud to spearhead an advocacy campaign with some other groups, but we took it on with Advocates for Autism in Massachusetts, where Massachusetts in 2014 actually passed a law that opened the door at the Department of Developmental Services for those with just developmental disabilities and autism. So you didn't have to have an intellectual disability as well. Why that's important is there's such a growth, and we don't really know why yet. Autism Speaks, that's part of actually a campaign we're doing this year for families. They've spent money, on the research. Other groups have spent money on research. For a while, it was the vaccine question, right? Having that vaccine that had so many parts to it. But that has been ruled out. The tests haven't been verified. But there's got to be something. And some people say maybe it's a cluster of things, because autism isn't just one thing, right? There's a range. There's a continuum.
Right.
So I think, and I have a person here who was past president who taught at Tufts, who feels strongly that some of it is redefinition, but that might have been because when I was younger and I was looking at people, I didn't think of them as having autism, but maybe they did. I didn't.
Oh, we didn't even know. I had a kid in my neighborhood, Marty DeBolt. We had no idea. Now I do.
Right.
And Leo, where are you in Massachusetts, and how do people find ARC?
Yeah, so basically it's pretty easy. If you Google ARC-Mass or thearcofmass.org.
ARC?
And we have ARC, and it's, there's no acronym. We advocate for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but if they Google the ARC, THEARC, they'll find us. There's 18 affiliates across the state, from Berkshire County to the Cape to Merrimack Valley to, North Danvers and Gloucester and all of that.
What we're going to do here is we're going to talk about next time having you in and talk about an ongoing campaign that we can do here at 15 WMEX to help ARC with your fundraising and your efforts. And Joe Shortsleeve, thanks for bringing Leo to the table.
Yeah, thanks, Leo. We're gonna shut off now, but we do want to just keep you coming back every month or so and keep us up to date on what's going on with the ARC of Massachusetts.
Love it. And pleasure meeting you, Diane. And
thank you.
Joe, and see you guys soon.
Best of luck.
Leo Sarkissian, you're listening to WMEX 1510 AM.
The Shortsleeve and Max Show, right here on 1510 WMEX.